There's a certain interest that wine's got that a lot of other beverages might not have.
And for 150 years people thought you couldn't grow grapes on Waiheke, so it's all very, very recent.
Well, drinking wine is tasting a place, and so you're actually visiting a place without knowing too much about it, or you're remembering a place that you've been to.
It could be any wine. It could be a red wine, it could be a white wine, and sometimes it's like a piece of art, and that's what wine can be.
One of the nice things about wine is that it's an easy thing to share with family and friends. And it's that sharing experience, I think, that is one of the things that's made wine so popular over many years.
Yeah, it's got a strong place in society.
A dress of aluminium will move in an atmosphere that's scientifically kept at the right temperature.
Structural ingenuity would, of course, go on producing unusual forms. Of any period of history is a direct outcome of the technical conditions then existing, and perhaps gratify the very human desire for novelty and romance.
You can edit that out.
Let me try that again.
Australasia, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Looking back down the Gulf to Auckland, so we're just 12k away from the city. Only 35 years of wine growing on the island, and so it's a very recent phenomenon, already making some of the top Syrahs. So it's certainly a great combination of a maritime climate which is almost identical to Bordeaux, and cracking clay soils like Burgundy. What more could you want for a combination?
There are several things about Waiheke Island that have served to attract people here to grow wine.
Why is Waiheke so good? Because it has, it has clay soil.
Quite rich, highly mineralised soils.
Those clay soils, heavy clay soils where we are here, produce some beautiful, full-bodied, supple wines. The soil is great for water retention as well, so lots of water retention during winter, and then it dries out over summer.
It doesn't get too hot during the summer, so we don't brown out like somewhere hot like California or hotter regions of Australia.
It's very variable in terms of seasonality as well, and weather.
The last 3 years were very challenging. Normally you have 50 mil between February to April. We had like 500 mil every year.
Combined with a very temperate climate.
Yeah, I think the climate on Waiheke is pretty unique.
Amazing little microclimate where we get little sea breeze that cools and dries it in the evenings. It's on average a little bit warmer than Auckland as well.
We don't have any issues as other parts of the world do, say with frost.
It's a region that's capable of growing a really diverse range of different varietals, and I think it's really unique in that regard. You know, if you look at other wine regions around the world, you know, they might grow 2, 3, 4 different varietals. I think on our vineyard we've got 11.
The tour on Waiheke is just great. I'm getting very excited about people not only producing extraordinary Syrahs, Bordeaux blends,
Cabernet Franc, Merlot.
but now we're getting some really classy white wines coming through.
Chardonnay.
From Pinot Gris, which is a really early ripening white varietal, to Cabernet Sauvignon, or even Montepulciano.
So we've got a lot of freedom when it comes to making the wine and running the vineyard, and that's great, you know, so that's amazing. We can really try and express ourselves with the wines we produce here, so yeah.
Making wine is a year-round operation.
The process is quite complex.
From ground to glass is actually quite a speedy process. When you first start winemaking and grape growing, it seems to take forever, but as the years rolled on, you can barely keep up with the pace of it.
Each season, you could say, begins around June each year, because we're in the southern hemisphere, where we start pruning the vineyard.
A majority of the work goes into the vineyard, so tending to the vines is the most important part of the winemaking process.
Everything from bud burst right through to harvest is a race against time.
Harvest, which would be in March and April.
And then the winemaking is really only a short process.
So there's, I guess, two basic routes depending on whether we're making our white wines or rosés, and then a slightly different process for our red winemaking, but because of the steepness of our vineyard, 100% of the grapes are hand-picked. We usually do a lot of selection to remove any unwanted material or less than ideal berries in the vineyard itself before they ever reach the winery. We run our fermentations nice and cool, so that conversion by yeast of the grape sugar from the grape juice into alcohol usually runs around 15 degrees, so we're trying to capture a lot of the aromatics of the white wine, so when we serve them in between 6 months to a year's time, they're very fresh and vibrant and have a unique sense of this particular terroir and place. For the red wines, the process is a little bit more lengthy, of course, so we actually ferment them with the skins, whereas with the white wines the skins and pulps are of course removed. So the fermentation with the skins is fantastic for extracting a lot of sort of colour, intensity, tannin, or these sort of textural components for the wine. So I love them because the reds from this particular site, and if I'm honest, from the whole valley, just seem to be, I don't know, chewy and delicious, and I don't know, they make me smile. Yeah.
Please listen carefully.
After the fermentation, which usually takes a few weeks for the reds, we like to do a malolactic fermentation, which is actually a secondary fermentation that's very interesting. It softens the acidity a little bit, gives it a very sort of generous and voluptuous mouthfeel. After the malolactic, we do a fairly prolonged oak aging, so we'll age some of our reds up to about 18-19 months in French oak barrels before bottling and cellaring for a few years before release. Hopefully that answered the question.
The great thing about living on Waiheke is it's a very physically beautiful place.
Waiheke Island is in the beautiful Hauraki Gulf off the main city of Auckland. We've got amazing light coming off the water.
Waiheke has many different attractions. That's why it's become such a popular tourist destination.
So there's beaches and coastal walks, lovely trees, and the bird life here is incredible. You know, morning song, evening song, it's worth stopping and listening to.
We have a beautiful art gallery, there's a thriving artist community here.
Waiheke used to be more of an artist hub, people that wanted to get away from the hustle and bustle.
Activities such as archery and zip lining, you name it, there's always something to do on Waiheke.
There's about 8,000 permanent residents, so for us that are fortunate enough to call Waiheke home, it's a really amazing spot.
The other thing that's great about living and working here are the people. They're feisty, but they're also very warm-hearted.
I don't come from the wine industry originally. My background is in science and technology. I spent most of my career in the software engineering That's quite common for wine growers on Waiheke. There's a lot of different backgrounds.
I was a civil engineer in my first life, so I'm a scientist.
We have geologists, psychologists, financial people, you name it. People have come from a successful career and tried to slow things down by coming here and having a more relaxing lifestyle and doing what they love.
With Waiheke now getting lots of exposure on an international stage, it's changed to now being a very serious wine and food scene.
Offering food and wine is an intimate thing. So when someone comes along and they say, "I've never tasted food like that," or "That's the best rosé I've ever had in my life," it's amazing. It's just, as I say, makes it all worthwhile because we all work very, very hard here.
With each wine, we've got a specially prepared food pairing that's finely tuned to go with that particular wine. And so we try and explain to people how the food reacts with the wine in terms of the chemistry, how it changes your palate and your perception of the wine. It's quite an educational experience. My name is Rob Meredith and my role at Peacock Sky is to manage all the technology and operations, including manufacturing.
My name is Kat Vosper and I am the bread maker here at Casita Miro. It's a position I'm very proud of.
My name is Luke Pepinay. I've been growing grapes on this site, Frenchmans Hill Estate, since 2006.
My name's Mike Wood and I'm the winemaker at Obsidian Wines. Obsidian Wines is based on Waiheke Island in the Onotangi Valley.
My name is Heike. I live on the island for 22 years and I work for Kennedy Point since 2000.
My name's George Bond. I'm the assistant winemaker here at Miro Vineyard. My parents planted the vineyard about 29 years ago.
I'm Heinrich Storm, I'm the head winemaker here at Goldie Estate on Waiheke Island.